you feel? I've forgotten how to use Napster.
Well, here's the thing. I got to kick this off. This is about history, first of all. And anything that's history, story written, can be funny and memorable. You guys made me remember my past of why I got into the business of being a disc jockey. I remember going to clubs in Connecticut where they wouldn't let anybody of color in. When I saw that, I'm like, this is good. But it was still about the music and about the vibe. Mark, talk about that. And then Bruce, talk about what you remember from this too, because as we all got older, there's not a lot of us that are here. And I want people, whether you're gay or straight or whatever, to remember the history of this and want to come to Los Angeles and just drive by that. That's what I would like to happen for this film. And it's great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the most important thing is documenting and preserving this history, because right now, forces in the world are trying to ban us, and our stories. But not only for people like us who remember it, but for the younger generation who, they're on TikTok and they have 15 seconds maximum. Hopefully they can actually sit down for 90 minutes and have an understanding of what we went through. I was on the tail end more of that, but certainly it's just an important thing to preserve because our rights are on, hanging by a thread. They're about ready to be taken away from us. And if we don't remember and acknowledge where we came from, then we're going to lose it all. And unfortunately, the younger generation doesn't really have an understanding, and they take everything for granted. Right, Bruce?
Yeah, they do. And why shouldn't they? They're pretty.
Well, and
When
that's
I
the
was
whole
young
thing.
and pretty, I took it for granted too. Now
Well, no,
I could play Ursula the Sea Witch in Little Mermaid 7. It doesn't matter as much, but I think it's very important that you know where you came from and that the generation ahead of you, what they went through, and the idea that that a disco could be a place where a kind of gay culture came together and partied, of course, but at the same time, it was a lot of people identifying with each other as being part of a community, which they didn't have much of a place to do that before, except illicit places and bars that were hidden in all. This was like in the open, so it and of course mingled with a lot of Hollywood, with a lot of what was going on in the entertainment business because of the nightclub in the back that had stars and drew stars. So it put the thing on the map, and it made people feel good that they were part of all of that. They were being recognized.
And the people who stood in, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mark, sorry.
The people who stood in line, I mean, that was the first time, like Bruce said, the bars were kind of shuttered and closed, but they stood in line, lined up outside. They experienced abuse. Bottles were thrown at them. So these were pretty brave people. But once they got inside and climbed the stairs and saw this magical fantasy land with 1,000 or more sweaty guys dancing around, it was like euphoria. It was freedom for the very first time. They could be themselves, even though outside it was a little bit scary. Police were constantly harassing them. It was a different time.
West Hollywood was not the gay city that it is now. It wasn't run by gay people, and it was just a part of LA County, and it was referred to, as Boys Town and the Swiss Alps and things like that. So it was known for being gay, but it wasn't. It didn't have its own self-awareness.
Well, fascinating because I learned that the reason that all of these gay bars came up in West Hollywood is because it was an unincorporated part. And so LAPD, which was obviously the worst against gay people, had no control there. And supposedly the sheriff's department were
LA County Sheriff, yeah. Yeah, LA is strange because the city is in the county and the county's huge. And you keep going in and out of LA City. There used to be jokes in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons where he'd be going through the jungle on a safari, and he'd come to a clearing, and there'd be a sign saying Los Angeles city limits. Because you never know when you were in or out of the city of LA. It was weird. Still happened. Now, no.
Well, you're both mentioning things Bruce, that's true for a person of color. I remember walking too fast down Beverly Hills and an undercover cop stopping me. Said, "Why are you walking so fast?" I'm like, "I walk fast. I'm going to my office." And
Right. Yeah.
and I never forgot that. And then somebody got out, took a picture of me, and took off. And I said, "What just happened?
Mhm.
What? I can't walk fast?" And then I said, "Well, who took my picture? I don't know who that was. How do I get my photo back?" And I never forgot things like that. And then open shoe policy. I remember this. Those things hit me as that Black guy being in the disc jockey, playing this great music, whether it was Donna Summer, Diana Ross, the Village People, or whatever. I remember they wouldn't let people who were not white in, and I thought that was fascinating. So everybody experienced certain things, and then I remember if you didn't get there at 8:30 and you weren't dressed, there was a possibility you weren't getting in. And I thought that was fascinating. So, Mark, you touched on a lot of great things that brought home memories back to me in Connecticut, out of all places, where I was disc jockey, which started my radio career. So, and then when Bruce was talking about certain things like that, well, Joan Rivers ended up being my celebrity mom, and I forgot about that she was one of the icons to do that, and I so miss her to this day. Thank you for including those things for people, for a straight Black male like me, with all my friends are gay and trans, whatever. This is important for me because I want people who aren't straight to see this and learn about the history. It is that important. And that's why I choose to make sure that people see these films, because it is really, really important to get the history out there correctly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was there in 1984. I was finishing my film studies at Loyola Marymount Catholic, and I would go on the weekends and to experience it. But I had no idea what happened before I got there. And once I started researching, I just realized that this is an important thing to document. I mean, Scott Forbes, had some flaws, but his vision was to make a club for gay white men primarily in the beginning, and they, oddly enough, one of the co-owners, Ernie Carruthers, was a Black guy. So I don't think he was racist, although he was doing a racist thing, obviously. But but there was a protest that happened. They were picketing outside of Studio One, and there was a boycott, and that's all documented in the film. Not to trash Studio One, but just it was
the time. I looked at it as the time, because the same thing happened for Chippendales, even when I was in Connecticut. It was the time. And I got it. But I'm glad that you pinpointed that, because that's very important for people to know. Because millennials and Xers, they have no idea that these things existed.
Right. And women too. There was the infamous no open-toed shoes policy that we got confirmation from one of Scott's closest friends that was just an excuse to keep women out. So, but eventually in the 80s, things turned around. And of course, if you were Black or a woman who was a celebrity, of course, get in. This is the way it was.
Yeah. See, now I can get into other place with 16 million views and counting, but I understand, things change. And Bruce, I have to say this. I've always tell people to this day, you are the funniest person I've ever been done a one-on-one with. And I've told Billy Crystal this, and I remember telling Robin Williams this, and they both laughed and said, "Yep, there's Bruce." But it's because you have a certain way of telling humor. Talk about your humor for those people who may not know who you are, but should also know who you are, besides this film and just in general.
Oh, well, there's another film that was made 20 years ago called Get Bruce, which is with Billy and Robin and Bette Midler and Whoopi Goldberg and all these people who I've written for over the years. And it was produced by Harvey Weinstein, who never laid a hand on me. Hashtag, why not me? There I was with the open bathrobe and the bottle of champagne. Why not me? Anyway, so they're all in the movie. And I mean, I was a child actor. I was never a child star, or we'd be having this in rehab. But I had all of these people who I worked for. I was a writer, and I segued into writing, and I started with Bette Midler, and I began writing for a lot of people, and I've written a lot of Oscar shows. And it was on Hollywood Squares for 6 years, to the left of Whoopi, if that's possible. Not sure. It's always hard to explain what the humor. The humor comes from wherever it comes from. I mean, I'm terribly diverse. I'm gay. I'm Jewish. I'm fat. So right away there, it's a trifecta. And there were things about all of those things that I could incorporate in the humor that I have. Like I have many chins I can incorporate. Look at that. Hitchcock. Hitchcock is very upset about it. I look so much like him, and I speak like him now. And I'm fixated on blondes like he was. So I hope that gives you some idea. For those of you who don't know who I am, I've been around. Google me. You'll have a real fun time going through all of that.
Well, I have not stopped ever since that day. And I was glad that Marc put you in because, again, someone who was there in the early days telling that experience to where you are now, again, you still need to know the history of where everybody comes from. That's really, really important. And like I said, Marc, he was the funniest person that I ever interviewed, and I never forgot that going back to get Bruce. So I'm glad you had him in. I'm glad he's still here. And I know we're running out of time. Marc, what would you say to get the audience to come out to support this? This is really an important film because for me, it gets the 4 E's. It's entertaining, it's educational, it's emotional, and it's empathetic. And a good movie has that, and yours has that.
Oh, thank you. It's our history. The club existed from 1974 to 1993, and we see it's a kaleidoscopic journey through our history through this club that had such an impact on not only our local community but on the world, I think. In these days when our history is being banned, when we're trying to become, when our rights are hanging by a thread, I think it's vital and important to have it all in one place, in one film. And even if the building isn't saved, but you have to watch the movie to get that, don't want to spoil it, this film is preserving what's really important, and that's the stories of our times.
Not only that, but it highlights the gay archives at USC, which I think many people don't even know exist. We went down there and we found the Studio One files down there. And that people don't even know about it. So that is our history. That's right there. We have a building that's full of our history. And now we have a movie that's full of it.
And all of those archives are acid-free. Something
which is unusual.
That's a great.
Because Studio One was not.
Thank you.
That's true. All right, Bruce, you get the last word on this. What would you say to get the audience to come out and see this film, to support this film festival also?
Well, I mean, it's a fabulous chronicle of a culture, of a thing that you may be too young to know actually existed. And to see all of these people, many of whom are still active and you know them, but to also to hear these great stories about people who found themselves when they were young guys at this club because there was no place else to do it. I think it's very moving. AIDS certainly took its toll. A lot of younger people don't know the extent of that. It wasn't even a pandemic; it was an epidemic. They don't even get the impact that it had. So all of these things in the movie, and it's also a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun and it's very musical and glitzy. A lot of glitter bombs, a lot of that.
Hey,
and we have an after party after our screening on July 18th. Lance Bass has opened up Rocco's for us, and so come on out and disco till through the night into the morning.
I'm gonna be there because I was there when Lance came out, and I remember interviewing him after NSYNC when he threw Miramax Films again. All of that stuff. So he and I, and I forgot who the other person was, Joey Fatone, we became friends through that segment of things. So, and again, it's good to see where everybody is. I mean, it's not a lot of us, but that music helped put everybody back there. I'm pissed that I didn't get a chance to go.
You're in Connecticut, right?
No, well, I was in Connecticut, but then it came out here. I was going to Florentine Gardens, and I was on Power 106 at that point.
Got it, yeah.
You've been there through the movie, hopefully. Your experience through the movie.
I did, and I watched it twice. It made that much of an impact on me. It made me really feel good.
Wow. Yeah, our screening is sold out, but there's standing room, and usually people who go in the standing, line get in, and you'll get a free disco ball keychain as a token of our appreciation for coming.
Well,
Thank you, Gary
there you
Carno,
go.
for arranging that.
Just don't try to crack it open if there's nothing inside.
Yeah, right.
Hey, those were the days.
Those are the days, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
Definitely
was the
drugs are
black
a part
guy
of
in the booth in an all-white audience. I get it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, part
I
of
wanna
Can't
thank you
Stop the
guys
Music
again.
was filmed there, and they were totally flying around, whatever. Yeah, as you know.
Oh, let me ask you this last question real quick. Music rights. Was it hard to get some of the rights to some of the music?
Absolutely. I mean, we didn't spend a whole lot of money on the movie, making it over 2.5 years, but we needed to come up with some cash to pay for the music licensing, and we got this incredible deal. I couldn't get all of the music I wanted, but it's chock full of songs that will trigger those memories. You know how music does.
They're all hits. Hey, so I want to thank you guys for everything, for your time, because I know everybody's booked, but this is really important. This is one of those films, a little like the Little Richard documentary, that's also at LGBTQ Film Festival, that I want to make sure that people come out and support, because there's some great films here. I keep telling everybody, LGBT Film Festival has some great films, and I just want people of all races, nationalities to see what's out there.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, that was fun.
Great.
That was okay. He's straight.
You're straight.